Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the eBay Repair Challenge with my mate Vince. My fourth item is a train. So we've got this train set, the Santa Fe, we've got several coaches, and I think several engines. Let's get it all out and check it out. Okay, so it does not include another engine. I was mistaken on that. And I'm not totally sure how these go, so I'm just gonna kind of lay them out here so you can have a real good look at them. I don't know really anything about this train set other than what was in the listing. So the main problem with this is, number one, I don't know if it even runs on a track, but number two, we have one of these couplers that's broken right here. So we've got to figure out a way to fix that coupler, and then we've got to test it. These actually light up. These, all the cars light up, and so we got to test that, and then we got to check and see if the engine works as well. So this is the Tyco Mantua Santa Fe Diesel HO Gauge passenger train set from the 1960s. I paid $49.99 for this, so we'll see if it's fixable and if I can make any money at all. So the first thing we're gonna do is get a track set up so we can test these and see what works and what doesn't and what all needs to be fixed. Okay, we got some track set up and we got our engine on the track. And I mean, to be honest about it, I'm just kind of recording this in case I get electrocuted, then I have a record of it. I've got an old transformer here, controller for this, and the wires, they're fine, but they look a little old. So we're just gonna plug it in and try it and see what happens. And maybe we'll get a good fail video out of it. I think we have more of a problem in the transformer. I do see that the engine at least does move a little bit. We've also got some really dirty tracks and some connections that aren't the best. So the good news is that the train does move a little bit when we try and get it to move. Okay, so instead of relying on that old transformer, I'm gonna rely on this benchtop power supply to make sure we're getting the right amount of power to the tracks, and that way we know that the power is getting there. Like I said, the tracks are dirty. I may have to scuff them up a bit to do some real tests, but we need to test these cars to see if any of the lights turn on or if we're gonna need to work on that too. Okay, so we have our power supply set to 17 volts. We're gonna touch the hot lead to the tracks and see if our lights light up. And they do. You can see we definitely have some problems on the tracks themselves, but we do have light there. So let's check the next one. Okay, that one's ready. And we have no light on that one. Okay, no light on the coach car. Oh, the second coach car. Now we're gonna test the tavern. Okay, we're ready. Oh, we got we got some light on the tavern. So we know the tavern works. Now let's check I think this must be the tender? Doesn't say. I don't know what this one's called. I'm not really a train guy. I had one of these when I was a kid. Not one of these, but kind of a similar one. And of course, me being who I am, I took it apart, and then for some reason it never really worked right after that, so never know what happened to that thing. So I just noticed this one just has the plastic wheels, so this one apparently doesn't have any power function to it, so that one's fine. These ones have I don't know what kind of metal it is. These ones have metal on the wheels right here, which transfers the power inside to a light bulb and some wires, I'm assuming, and that's what makes them light up. This one actually even has a light here and here. I don't know if those are supposed to light up, but let's check it out. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's see what happens. No lights at all. Okay, so we've got two cars that don't have lights at all, and then the rest of the cars are working as they should. Now, one of the cars that's working as it should is the one with the broken coupler, so we will need to fix that, And then we need to figure out the lighting on these two cars. So I think we're about done with the diagnosis part. We need to do some work on the engine. We need to do some work on these two cars with the lighting system, and then we need to replace the coupler on that other car. So let's start with the engine and see if we can get it cleaned up. And then I'm also gonna scuff up the tracks and make them look a lot better so they get a much better connection, and also clean up the wheels and the motors on the engine. So let's do the work on the engine first, see if we can get that working well, and then we'll move on to the cars. So it looks like we've got a screw here and a screw here, and then I'm guessing the body of the train comes off. Okay, we got this whole block that comes out. Okay, that's just a big weight in there, it looks like. That's cool. So it gives it its weight, probably helps it stay on the tracks better. I don't know how the rest of it comes out though. Okay, here we go. So we've got this little piece of metal in this groove. I'm guessing I have to pry the train body out from that. What about over here? I'm not sure on this one though. Okay, we've got, I see two screws down there. Let's do this one first and see if we can get this one pried off. I'm sure any of you who work on trains on a regular basis are probably cringing right now. To be honest, I'm cringing a little bit, but you know, it's not broke, we'll fix it till it is. Okay, there we go. I think we got that part off. All right, so that part's off. And that's the part with the motor, it looks like, so that's good. Now we need to get a nice long screwdriver to get down in there. Here we go, we got a nice long screwdriver. That's going to be interesting trying to get those screws back in. Okay. Now we got the bulb down there. Okay. There we go. I'm not going to do any work on the train bodies themselves. You can see they're pretty scratched up. I might do some cleaning. Some of this stuff might come off, but I'm not really going to do too much there, but I do want to make sure they're all mechanically in excellent condition. That bulb looks like it's probably seen much better days. I didn't actually check too closely when I had this thing running on the tracks. I need to test it again just to make sure that it doesn't work, because I'd hate to try and replace it if the bulb worked fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to hook this up to my benchtop power supply, and we're going to see how the motor works without it being on the tracks. That'll tell us how bad the tracks are, and then we're also going to test this bulb to see if we need to get a new bulb. So after looking at this carrier more, unfortunately, it's riveted together right here, so I'm actually not going to be able to take that apart and get to the motor. Now, if I had a source for these rivets and a rivet gun, then it really wouldn't be that hard of a thing to do, but since I don't, I'm not going to be able to take this part apart. Now, what I can do is clean up these wheels. There's quite a bit of tarnish on the wheels, so I will clean that up, and I still will test it to see if this bulb works. Okay, we're getting some good movement out of it, but still no light at all. So we for sure need a new light bulb. I might need to figure out a way to get in that motor and clean it, but let's figure out the light bulb first, and then let's take a look at the rest of these cars. After looking at this and testing it more, I think I'm just gonna have to break these rivets, and hopefully maybe we can find some screws or something that'll hold this together. But I've just gotta do something because this motor is just not working how it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these broken apart. I'm gonna try using a Dremel tool for that, and then we'll replace the light bulb. I just got new light bulbs in, so we'll try replacing the light bulb on this, and then we'll see how it works when I'm done with the motor. Let's see if that was enough. It looks pretty close. Okay, one rivet is out. And there's the other rivet. All right, so we've got the rivets out. Let's see if we can get the rest of this thing apart here. Okay, that definitely comes apart. All right, here we go. And there we have the motor. So we got some brushes right here. And just looking at the rest of it to see what it looks like. That piece definitely has some hair and stuff on it. It doesn't look bad though, not too bad. Same with this, we got some hair and stuff on this one. All right. Definitely clean this up, it's pretty oily. But overall, it actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it might. This is also all riveted in, of course. We always think of today's electronics being unfixable, but man, back in the day, Tyco made these as unfixable as they could, it looks like to me. It made it much more difficult, you know, if they would have just put screws in all this stuff, it wouldn't have been hard to take apart and repair if needed, but unfortunately with rivets, it makes it much more difficult. So it looks like what we need to do is clean up the commutator here and then clean up these brushes a little bit. And there's good tension on them, so it's not too much of a worry. We're gonna clean this all up and then see if we can get this motor working better and also clean up all the hair and stuff. Okay, that's looking a lot better. We got some pretty dirty Q-tips here. Now, I think probably we need to make sure that these gears have plenty of lubrication on them, but I think we need to keep the lubrication off of the actual contacts. Now, I could be wrong, and any of you trained people out there could tell me for sure, but I don't think this part and the brushes are supposed to have any sort of grease or lubrication on them. All right, it looks like these are getting pretty clean after all these Q-tips. So the next thing I'm gonna do is actually test this motor with my benchtop power supply and see how well it turns with these brushes, how they are, and see if that's an actual problem or not. So let's do that next and see how it does. Okay, it's clear to me the motor is working fine, so those brushes, even though they're a little bit worn, they're not so worn that they don't work. So the good news is that the motor actually looks pretty good. And now we gotta see if we can put it together and find some bolts to keep it together. In the meantime, I'm gonna solder in a new bulb onto this clip, so then once we get the new bolts, we can test it all and make sure the light bulb works. And here is the old bulb, and here is the new bulb. I got that just soldered on there. Now we got to see if we can get some bolts for these. Since we drilled out those rivets, we got to find a bolt that will go in there and not cause any problems with anything. So this will need to go on here, just like that. So I'm thinking probably these. And we got to figure out which way we want the head to go. That looks good. It's well below this part, and I think there's enough on the bottom to put the nut. So I think I'm gonna tighten this one up. I think these ones are gonna work great. If any of you guys are doing anything similar on one of these old Tyco Mantua trains, this is a, let's see, M2 by 20 millimeter. So if any of you guys wanna know what this kit is, I can post an Amazon link for you. Now we gotta get the other one in, put the other nut on, tighten it up a little bit, and then we gotta get this back in the train and see if it works. Now we have the bolts installed and tightened up. We got some free movement here. Now we need to get this put in the train, then we can test it out and see if the motor works. Well, how does it look? Did I do anything wrong? I'm sure you guys will tell me in the comments. But unfortunately for me, I just have to test it and see whether it works or not. So let's give it a try. So I finally have my old track cleaned up and I have the wheels on the train cleaned up. So now I'm gonna turn it on, put some power to the track, and let's see what it does. This should be forward power. Okay. And let's check reverse. Okay, so we definitely clearly have a working train. There's definitely some joints. These joints seem to be not quite tight enough, but I'm not concerned about that. I just need to make sure the train works. This was not a complete set with the track and everything. It was just the train and the cars. So I need to make sure this train works and all the cars work, and that's it. I don't know if you can see from here. Let me show you the light as well, because it is now working. Okay, watch the light. So you can see that the light works good. So we have that part all fixed up. At this point, the train is working pretty well. I don't see any other things that we need to do except for clean it. Now, I did notice while I was taking it apart that this hook right here is also broken. So I'm gonna look into that and see what we can do to fix that. In the meantime, let's take a look at these cars and make sure they're all working and all their lights work. This is the first coach car, and we do have metal wheels on this, so we know that there is a light in here. So let's try that and make sure that's working correctly. And we do see a light turn on. So this coach car is working correctly. And this is the tavern car. This is the one that we need to work on and replace this coupler. But let's check the lights on it. And as you should be able to see, the lights on this work as they should. And here is the other coach car. And we have no light on this, so we need to figure that out. And the observation car. And the light does work on that. Let's get started on this coach car and see if we can figure out why the light's not working here. Looks like these just have one screw on the end that we have to remove. And there we go. Here is the bulb. So we have one bulb over here, one bulb over here. I don't see any burning or anything on the bulbs. They mostly look fine. And it looks like they are both connected to power and ground, so it seems like one should work even if the other one doesn't. Let's get our power supply turned on and put some power to each of these and then see what the bulbs do. There we go. So it's not the bulbs that are having a problem. What would be causing this? We could have dirty wheels. Let's try it at the wheels again. There we go. so I think what we need to do with this is clean up these wheels. I'm guessing that's the source of the faulty connection. And then we'll test it again and see if those lights work. Okay, we've given these wheels a good cleaning, so let's see. Yeah, we got some good power there. So it looks like these just needed to be cleaned. Now the part that I'm not looking forward to, we need to replace this coupler. Now the bad news is this is another rivet we're gonna have to grind off. The good news is I think it is fixable. I think I've got a screw that is a self-tapping screw that I can put right in there and screw the new coupler down, but I don't know for sure. I've never done this one before, so wish me luck. All right, so the first order of business is grinding off this rivet. Okay, so I was able to get that drilled out. There's a lot more marking on that than I like, but it's what I had to do to get it out, so that's what we gotta do. Now this is what the inside looks like. I still have the rivet there, so I do need to get it out the rest of the way. And I do see there's a little sleeve on it, so I might need to use that. I'm not sure yet. Okay, there we go. We got the rivet out. Now we got to see if we can get the new coupler in and get it screwed in so it'll work correctly. Okay, it's definitely going in there. It actually looks like it should work pretty well because that does pivot on there quite nicely. So this actually might work. Okay, let's see if we have enough clearance everywhere. Definitely enough clearance there. And it's screwed through here plenty to give a nice solid fit there. And the coupler seems to move normally. This actually, I think that actually works pretty well. Let's hook it up to another car and then just see if it's gonna work for us. Yeah, I think that's actually gonna work pretty well. I think we're gonna call this coupler fixed. Now we just need to get the body back on. Okay, now we have this one fixed correctly and we have a working coupler. All right, and now the next problem. Now this problem I didn't know about before I bought it. I didn't even notice it until I was working on this train, but this engine has a broken coupler as well. So I'm thinking this is another sort of like rivet sort of thing, and I'm hoping maybe I can take this one out and put a screw in like I did with the other ones. I mean, even if I can't fix it that way, even if I can't fix it at all, I can at least take this out and see if it is fixable that way or not. So I'm gonna do that now and see if I can fix it. Here we go. So we do have like a metal rivet. It's got kind of teeth on the edge so you can't twist it. So I don't know if those screws are going to be big enough for that, but I should be able to find a screw that is big enough for that. So hopefully I can do that and get this part fixed as well. All right, these are mostly all PS4 screws, but there's some other random ones in there too. So I'm hoping that one of these will be the kind and size we need. All right, so I think we have this reamed out enough. Let's get this installed over here, and then we'll get this screw installed down onto it, and that should work for us, hopefully. There we go. Okay, that's how it should work right there. Definitely not the prettiest screw, but it's gonna stay in there really well, and it's gonna do the job. Now let's do a test hookup and see how these work. Yep, that's gonna work just fine. So we've got that one fixed now. Now we got this engine fully working with the engine repaired and cleaned. We got the coupler fixed correctly, and then we also have the coupler on the other car fixed correctly, and all of the lights are currently working. Now pretty much all that's left to do is clean it up and see if we can make any money on this one. And here we have our fully cleaned and fully repaired Tyco Mantua Santa Fe Railway. Now I've got to get it put up on eBay to see how much we can get for it. Now, unfortunately, I did take a big loss on the Big Bird alarm clock. I thought I was gonna get much more than I did for it. I ended up getting $1.25 was the final bid. Luckily, I did charge $20 shipping, so it wasn't quite as bad of a loss, but that's gonna really set us back for Team USA. So I'm hoping that this and my next item can really bring in some money, as that one item wiped out all of our profit percentage and more from our first repair, which we actually made a decent profit on. So with that one item, we're back to the starting point. So I'm hoping this one will bring in some good money, although I did pay a good amount for parts in this. I'll have to add it all up, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some good bids. It is looking pretty good and it's fully working, so that's the good thing. If you guys want to keep up with the current sales price on these, I am updating my Instagram with those numbers. So just follow me there at TronicsFix if you guys want to see those. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting this Repair Challenge series with my mate Vince, and I hope you have a good day.